Hello, everybody. Welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. And we have another pre-recorded edition for you. In case you've been under a rock, we have a stay-at-home order until May 4 here in New Hampshire. And so all live programming at WMNH is suspended. And what you are hearing is another pre-recorded show. And the way we're handling that with Matt Connarton Unleashed is every day you will hear either a show that I've pre-recorded the entire 2 hours the night before or that morning and sent into the station for airing between 4 and 6 p.m., or you might hear one of these amazing best of Matt Connarton Unleashed editions that I do so love to put together. Well, today you're getting another best of. More about that in a moment. Also want to let everybody know, I want to make sure that everyone is aware that our wonderful sponsor, the Hop Knot, in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street is still open for business. Now, just like any other restaurant or bar in the state of New Hampshire, they currently can only do carry-out and delivery, no dining in. That's the rules, my friends, but they are doing it. Not only carry out, but they are now delivering as well. They're open Monday through Saturday from noon to 7 p.m. You can get not only some of their great food, and they have an incredible menu, but you can get beer and wine as well. Must be purchased with food, but that is an option. And in fact, if you go to the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, and please give that a like if you haven't done so already. If you go to the Facebook page, you can see right there the entire menu available for carryout or delivery. So please continue to support our wonderful sponsor, the Hop Knot, in this very difficult time. And without further ado, here it is, the best of Matt Connarton Unleashed, Volume 30. Can you believe it? 3-0. And this is another special themed best of, the best arguments in the history of Matt Connarton Unleashed, Part 2. I warned you there was going to be a Part 2. Enjoy. And we have a call.
Grappling with
turn down your radio, please. Hey, who's this?
Matt?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Mike.
Mike Doyle, how are you, sir?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can now, yeah. For a second I couldn't. You were cutting in and out, but I can hear you now, yeah.
I have trouble with my Bluetooth.
Okay, well, wherever you are right now, don't move.
I'd love to see you do a show sometime. I'd love to see you do a show on the current Congress and how much work they're getting done for the people of this country versus their inevitable hunt to try to figure out something illegal on Donald Trump. Because we just spent a year and a half of doing nothing but you guys everybody warned us. The fake news, will you wait? It's Robert Mueller. And he's got the best team of Democratic guys. They're going to crush Trump. He's going to jail.
I don't know why
impeachment.
Yeah, Mike,
nothing.
I don't know why you lump me in with that. I mean, we have this conversation every time you call. You lump me in with, with the rest of the news and say, oh, you guys all warned us and everything. So we've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. I have said all along that I was skeptical that Trump directly colluded with the Russians. I've said it a million times because I don't believe he ever wanted to be president. So I don't know why he himself would be colluding with the Russians. And I've said that over and over again. But every time you call,
now it's on to the next thing.
But Mike, every time you call,
believe Robert Mueller.
Every time you
call,
we
don't believe the Attorney General. And now we want this, that, and the next thing. And they're just doing whatever they can to hide the whole Hillary.
You don't want to see the report?
The whole shooting match that started this whole mess.
Mike, we talked about it before.
Nothing's getting done for the people of this country. That's the problem.
Nothing's getting.
The Democrats just don't want to do anything in Congress. They just want to look to try to find a problem with Donald Trump.
Well, Mike,
and let me tell you why I
thought you
wanted
wanted
to. I thought.
Hang on, Mike. Can we have a conversation? Mike, let me talk.
I heard you talking about the story about.
Will you let me talk a little bit, Mike?
Donald Trump said at the border, "Don't listen."
I'm just going to let you talk.
Don't listen. Don't let judges stand in your way. And then I think at some point you said he even said that you have a direct line to the president. The gentleman, that question came up last night, and a guy on TV said a Border Patrol guy had mentioned to them that it's the courts that's stopping us. and making a joke, Donald Trump in jest just said, "Oh, you're going to let them stop you?" Like that. That's all it was. And supposedly that's one story. Now that's gotten blown up into he's telling people on the border to not listen to the court system because it's just, you guys are unbelievable. You think he really wants to separate people at the border?
Mike, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna try. Okay. Oh wow. I get to actually answer you this time. Okay. Once again, Mike, you constantly take what I say and try to lump me in with everybody else. I sat here and went over that, and then what did I say? I want to know exactly what Trump said because I'm skeptical because there's no video of what he said. And I even gave a previous example about how sometimes his words are taken out of context. And yes, there are people in the media who occasionally twist what he says to make him look bad. And I even gave a previous example of that. So I don't know how you listen to my show and then you call in. Mike, wait, hang on. Let me finish that damn. The problem is I put it out there.
Yeah. Do you have any proof that was said?
Mike, you don't
you know how many
listen.
people listen to your show and now have gone down the road that, you know what I heard today on Matt Connarton?
Jesus Christ, Mike.
Donald Trump told the people on the border not to listen to judges.
You don't listen to what I say. You don't listen to what I say. You hear half of what I say. I talked about it. It's already in the media, Mike. I talked about it, and I halfway defended the guy. And I said, I don't know if he actually said this, and I even said he might have been.
That at the end.
So what is the problem then? So why are you calling me up? So why are you calling me up and saying, well, now you're putting this out here? I'm actually defending the guy, and you're calling me up and saying.
My original question is, could you do a show sometime on just how much the Democratic Congress is getting done? And things that they're doing to better this country.
I got to be honest.
That was my original premise.
Well, I don't really take requests, but I got to be.
I'd like to hear a show about that sometime.
As a civil libertarian, I don't necessarily want Congress doing a whole lot. You know, so I don't know what I don't know what you're looking for them to be doing.
That's what we all want. You're more of a Republican than you think. We all want them out of our lives.
I'm an independent, dude.
We don't want them.
I'm not a Democrat. I say it all the time. I'm an independent.
That's what you say, but anyway, it is what it is.
When's the last time I voted for a Democrat? 2008.
Yeah, I know. Good stimulus. Good show, though, as usual.
You know, Mike, I like talking to you, but I wish when you call, you'd let me respond to things without filibustering. You know?
Okay. No problem.
Because I genuinely like talking to you, dude, but I get frustrated when you say something and then I try to respond to it and you just keep going on to the next thing, which is a rhetorical strategy. I understand. You know, you make your point and then you're already on to the next subject before you give me a chance to respond to anything that you said. And believe me, you're not the only one who does that. I mean, you know, you've seen John Hopwood in here, but I actually like you and enjoy talking to you and would like to have a conversation. And I get frustrated when you do that filibustering thing. Take a breath.
I won't do it. I'll try not. I don't do it advertently. Believe me.
Well, I try.
I get frustrated listening to all the things that are going well in this country right now.
Yeah.
I mean, right across the board. And again, I'm not going to filibuster, but you never talk. You rarely talk about them. Most of these shows don't talk about them. How good everything is for everybody. Things are going pretty well right now.
I've talked about it a million times.
But all we talk about is tax returns and Russian probes and.
I haven't talked about the tax return issue at all. And I've said I've said many times on the show, the economy's great, and if the economy continues to be great, I think Trump will win re-election. I say it all the time.
Oh, I do too. I don't think that's an issue.
That's been my standard prediction. But you don't necessarily hear the whole 2 hours of the show. But I get frustrated, Mike, because you call and you throw this thing at me like I'm CNN. Not that I think CNN is as bad as you think it is, but you know what I mean? You lump me in with everybody else, and I just don't think it's fair. But then when I try to defend myself, you just keep going. And I try to understand. I mean, I know sometimes when you're on the phone and you're calling a radio show, you can't necessarily hear everything I'm saying, but I just need you to slow down a little bit because I don't think it's fair to just, you know, you call and you throw this stuff at me.
I got it. You don't have to give me I got it. You only have to tell me once. I won't do it again.
I
get frustrated and sometimes I ramble on. That's all.
I wish you would come in again sometime and hang out with me during the show.
I'd love to.
Because it's much easier to talk
come in
in
and
person.
Have Brett on the line and just have a good discussion about what's going on in the world, and just the simple stuff,
No, I really, because I enjoyed that. And like I said, I like talking with you, and it is much easier to do it in person, because in person, when you can see the person and you're not on the phone, it's just, I'm not trying to discourage you from calling. I'm just saying.
You just give me the finger and tell me to shut up. Be a lot easier.
No, I was very,
all right, man, sorry about that. I didn't mean to ramble on. Good show as usual.
That's all right, Mike. All right. Thank you for the call. All right. Bye-bye. No, I try to be patient, because I know that people call, like I had that Jeff Cassell had to apologize to me once, because I got really frustrated with him, because he called and he just kept talking and talking, and and I couldn't get in. But it's like the thing I get frustrated with Mike about is, and like I said, I like Mike and I want him to keep calling, and I want, anybody who wants to call, but when somebody calls and they just talk and talk and talk, and it's like, well, wait a minute, let me respond to that. I want to have a conversation. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I genuinely like talking to him. I think Mike's a great guy. He's probably going to be on the morning show. I think he usually goes on the morning show on Fridays, and he's great on the radio and everything. But, Michael Alber, put in the Facebook live chat in quotes, "you people." Yeah, well, that's the thing. And I assume Michael is referring to what Mike Doyle says when he calls and he says, you people just talk about this, and all you want to do is rag on Trump and this and that. And, and it's like, don't lump me in with everybody else, because that's not fair. Do I spend a lot of time ragging on Trump? Yes, I do. I also try to give him credit where I think it's due. I certainly talk about, how good the economy is. I've made my prediction many times on the show. I say all the time, and I still really believe it. If Trump survives the Mueller probe, and it looks like he has, and if the economy continues to be strong, I think he's a lock for winning re-election. I know Fred disagrees with me on that. I think Fred thinks Trump's going to lose. I actually don't, because like I always say, too, all Trump has to do is convince everybody who voted for him the first time to vote for him again, and they most likely will. Fred says, here, Mike, here is a list of what they have done. So, Fred, Mike won't see it, Fred. Mike is, if I'm not mistaken, Mike is not on Facebook, so he won't even see this. But that's the other thing, too. It's like when somebody says to me, let me put it this way. I'm not someone who thinks a quote unquote productive Congress is necessarily a good thing. It depends on what they're doing. If they're doing good things, great. But oftentimes, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but politicians, lawmakers, elected officials, sometimes they do a lot of things that aren't good. Now, you can take each individual thing, and depending on how you feel about it ideologically, and or how you might feel about that specific issue, you might opinions will vary on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing or a neutral thing or whatever. But I'm not necessarily, I'm someone who thinks that sometimes gridlock is actually all right, because sometimes when there's gridlock, maybe there are things that should be getting done that aren't getting done, but also maybe there are things that shouldn't be getting done that aren't getting done either. If there's, if you have enough people in office who have some pretty nefarious ideas. So for me, when somebody talks about a productive Congress or an unproductive Congress, it's like, that's not really a talking point that I'm interested in. I don't care if Congress is productive or unproductive. I care about, if they're barely doing anything, what are the few things that they are getting done? Or if they are doing a lot, what are those things, and in what ways are they screwing us over? Because I do have a strong libertarian streak in me, and I don't, I don't necessarily think that Congress doing a ton of things, is a great thing. But Fred did post this link for anyone else who wants to see it. Like I said, Mike Doyle won't see it. He's not on Facebook. But that's quite a list. I mean, by the way, I do think typically in a typical Congress, I think Congress generally does a lot of stuff that we just don't notice. There's a lot of bills are passed that either, nobody in the mainstream media is going to talk about because it's just not particularly interesting to talk about some bills, or, some things that aren't, just are kind of mundane or whatever, aren't, the big sexy issues. Or plus, there's only so much that the mainstream media can cover at any one time before Americans' attention spans begin to kind of fail them. So anyway, where were we? I kind of lost where we were. Oh, I was talking about I was doing the transgender thing, wasn't I? Or were we on this other thing? Oh, the family separation. Yeah, that's what it was. It was like, because not to keep going back to it, but, I try to be very fair. And I said, because this is the thing that, one of the things Mike wanted to talk about. I said, I don't know if Trump actually said this. I don't know if it was taken the wrong way. I don't know if he was making a joke. Like I said that. I didn't, and then Mike says, well, you put it out there. Well, it's already out there, dude. How do you think I'm seeing it? I'm the one trying to be fair to the guy. I'm not going to be Fox News and go the other way and defend him, but I'm trying to be fair. And I think I am fair. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's your old pal, Fred.
Fred Bonig from thedailyripple.org. How are you, sir?
I love your show because the best part of your show is Mike Doyle for me. I gotta tell you, it gives me the most entertainment.
You don't think I was too hard on him, do you?
No, I'm a radio guy like you. I get it. I mean, yeah. I've given you a hard time about letting people just ramble on without a pause to let you do your show.
Yeah. Well, there was a specific. There was a specific individual. I remember you had made a comment to me about. We'll just.
Yeah, well, that's okay. No, it's not. And I'm just saying sometimes it's okay to just say, look, this is a conversation, not a monologue.
It was John Hopwood, by the way, for anyone who's wondering.
But John and I, we love each other at the same time as we both disagree with each other a lot.
Oh, I know. Well, what's funny though is you and he ideologically match up much closer than you might think, but he sometimes he just likes to be very contrary. But although
I know he likes to do radio.
Although on
he knows you need a foil
on immigration, though, I think he is genuinely a conservative. But other than that, I think he probably matches up with you ideologically pretty closely. But
well, on the transgender thing, what I was going to say is we have a writer that works for us, Bryn Tannehill, and she has a new book out. Everything you wanted to know about trans, but was afraid to ask. It's on the Daily Ripple. It's quite a thick book, and I just find that I'm glad that they're going to allow the people that are currently serving. There's Navy SEALs that were transgender. I mean, this is not about who's tough and who's not and who's brilliant. I've met so many transgender people now just from our, being in Washington and being at all these different events. And they're all great people. They're all hardworking. They're all, I wouldn't want to get in a fist fight with any of them.
Right.
And, but the thing is, this is all about, Trump thinking that because he needs the evangelical vote.
Oh yeah.
So this is one of the things he's promised them, and that's why he's trying to do this. It doesn't. Rand has done the studies on this. It doesn't change anything. Whether they're transgender or not. I mean, there's already been all the studies on it, but they're just doing it so that because he needs the votes. Because without the evangelical vote, he's not getting elected.
Well, I was just going to say, Fred, what's funny about this is I had actually forgotten about this for a long time because Trump, he made that tweet, which was a couple of years ago now. It just seemed to come out of nowhere. I think it was on a Friday afternoon. I think we were going into the weekend. And then, and then it sounded like
to distract about some other news story.
Exactly. And then it sounded like Mattis was kind of slow walking the whole thing because he was blindsided by it. No one had warned. I don't think he told anybody. I think he just did this. And then I just kind of stopped hearing about it and stopped reading about it. And then for a long time, I thought it was a dead issue. And I thought they had just, I thought the administration maybe had kind of forgotten about it, but well, apparently not.
It's another case of white male. I'm afraid of anything that is not white male. I mean, they're afraid of homophobic craziness. I think somebody said it best the other day. They said, I know it was Buttigieg. He said, look, to Pence, he said, look, don't take it up with me, take it up with my God. I didn't make me the way I am.
Ooh, that's a good line. That's good. I like that.
I'm just being me. And he said, at one point in his life, he would have done anything to not be gay.
Yeah.
But now he's like, he's accepted it. And I mean, he's married. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
Again, it's this crazy religious belief system that has nothing to do with Jesus. It has nothing to do with the teachings of love. It's about fear and all that. It's just sad.
Yeah. No,
that's why I wrote that
agree.
song, "Talking Leviticus Blues." I think that would be. That's why I like it, because it's exactly right.
I opened with that yesterday. Yeah.
Right, and it is. It's people believe, this book that they believe in, but they only believe in the choice parts that they want to use for their argument.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I know. Well, and they're very hyper-focused on that one thing, too. They're so focused on that one thing. It's incredible. It's like they really...
Shakespeare had something to say about that. He said, he thinks he protests too much.
Yes.
Well, I'll let you go, but I'm sure glad Mike called in. I always enjoy what he does. It makes me smile to realize. I had a conversation with a woman today at the compost place, and she said, "Well, I try to win over these Trump people." I said, "No, don't do that. They can believe whatever they want. You're not going to change them." I said, "You're never going to change them. That's because of the people that they are."
Ooh,
I said,
"Wait, well, no, go ahead and finish what you were going to say, but then I just have something to counter that with. But go ahead."
Well, I say, they have to have an epiphany in their own life to change those kind of things. So your argument of logic or that is not likely to change that at all. But there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of young voters who have no idea. I just say go out and register to vote.
Yeah.
Vote.org. Get these kids to register. You outnumber them. They can believe what they want. You just got to outnumber them.
Well, what I was going to point out, though, because to be honest, Fred, I think you're broadly correct on that, but because we have a listener who is an exception to what you were talking about, I do just want to point this out and give her props. Rhonda Ostrowitz Favero, you may have noticed her in the Facebook live chat. She was, I forget if it was yesterday or the day before, she was in there and she was talking about how she voted for Trump. She was a Trump supporter, but she has come to regret that. And is no longer on the Trump train. So there are.
What was the thing that made her regret it? That's what you need to find out. What was the thing that changed her mind?
Yeah,
and it probably was an epiphany that it directly affected her life.
She did make a comment, and Rhonda, if you're still in there, feel free to address that now. But she did make a comment about, she didn't want a dictator. She felt that Trump was behaving like a dictator, and that's not what she voted for. But Rhonda, feel free to expand on that if you're still in there. But yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I'll let you go, but thank you for another great show.
Oh, thank you for the call, Fred. Appreciate it very much.
All right. Talk to you soon, boss.
All right. Take care, man. Bye-bye. All right. That was the great Fred Bonig from the dailyripple.org. Hello to my old friend Bill Stephanitis, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. I worked with Bill many, many years ago. Okay. Yeah. Rhonda says that's it, Matt. Yeah. The dictator thing. Let's see. We are almost out of time. So I might play that. How long is this song? Oh, yeah. Rhonda had sent this song called the DEA song by Ken McKim. So we'll play that in a moment. I'm anxious to hear it. Rhonda had also commented, cherry pickers, referring to people who people cherry pick what I've always said about organized religion and Christianity specifically is it's more political than spiritual, right? People cherry pick what they want out of the Bible to suit their ideological proclivities. So, if you're a conservative and you're really freaked out by the idea that there's actually gay people in the world, well, hey, there's something in the Bible for you. Right there in Leviticus, you can just cherry pick that one thing. And like I said, they're very hyper focused on that one thing. Rhonda also said, many bills folks don't know about, some so unbelievable, such as vegan meals, for prisoners. That's referring to what I was talking about earlier about, you don't necessarily always want Congress doing a lot of stuff, because not all of it's necessarily going to be great, especially, by the way, if you're a Republican and you've got a Democratic Congress in control, you don't want them to be very productive. And if you're a Democrat and you've got a Republican Congress in control, you don't want them to be very productive. So I don't know that that's necessarily a great barometer how productive Congress is. But so we're going to get out of here with that. Mike Doyle, if you're still listening, I still love you, brother. And I do hope you'll come in again live in the studio with me where we can talk face to face, because we did that once before and I very much enjoyed it. We actually did agree on some things. We disagreed on others, but I thought it was a great conversation, and you're always welcome to call. You just gotta let me get in there a little bit too. That's all. Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, free dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. And we have another pre-recorded edition for you. In case you've been under a rock, we have a stay-at-home order until May 4 here in New Hampshire. And so all live programming at WMNH is suspended. And what you are hearing is another pre-recorded show. And the way we're handling that with Matt Connarton Unleashed is every day you will hear either a show that I've pre-recorded the entire 2 hours the night before or that morning and sent into the station for airing between 4 and 6 p.m., or you might hear one of these amazing best of Matt Connarton Unleashed editions that I do so love to put together. Well, today you're getting another best of. More about that in a moment. Also want to let everybody know, I want to make sure that everyone is aware that our wonderful sponsor, the Hop Knot, in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street is still open for business. Now, just like any other restaurant or bar in the state of New Hampshire, they currently can only do carry-out and delivery, no dining in. That's the rules, my friends, but they are doing it. Not only carry out, but they are now delivering as well. They're open Monday through Saturday from noon to 7 p.m. You can get not only some of their great food, and they have an incredible menu, but you can get beer and wine as well. Must be purchased with food, but that is an option. And in fact, if you go to the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, and please give that a like if you haven't done so already. If you go to the Facebook page, you can see right there the entire menu available for carryout or delivery. So please continue to support our wonderful sponsor, the Hop Knot, in this very difficult time. And without further ado, here it is, the best of Matt Connarton Unleashed, Volume 30. Can you believe it? 3-0. And this is another special themed best of, the best arguments in the history of Matt Connarton Unleashed, Part 2. I warned you there was going to be a Part 2. Enjoy. Yeah, I don't know why you couldn't hear us, Fred. Feel free to...
Why can't we go back to talking about Hoppy's children?
Feel free to try again. Hoppy's children.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have any children.
Well, yeah, he does.
John Hopwood is my daddy. John Hopwood is my daddy. John Hopwood is my daddy. John. Daddy. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, maybe he does.
Somebody was dying.
I know. Who was that laughing?
Oh, no, they were dying.
Yes. Did you know that other artists did Family Man other than just Hall & Oates? And it's not actually their song?
Yes, I'm well aware that song has been covered by many people. Because I think I've heard every version from you.
Really?
Yeah. There was a good 6 months there where you were playing that all the time. Every day.
Maybe this is Fred calling again. Let's see. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's your old pal Fred, hopefully.
Oh,
Hey!
Fred, yes. We can hear you, and obviously...
it's real hard to hear you.
Yeah, I don't know why. Are you in a vehicle? Are you currently traveling?
Yeah, I'm in a vehicle, but I'm holding my cell phone.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Fred. What's on your mind,
It's
sir?
okay. Well, what I wanted to say was it was interesting how everybody asked Elizabeth Warren, speaking of last night, because that's what I started the call about way back then. Elizabeth Warren, when they're all concerned about, because she won't say that she'll tax the middle class, because Bernie said it would be a tax. Well, the interesting part about it is it's how you pay for something. The insurance company,
Right.
or you pay it in a tax. I mean, and if you pay it in a tax, it will be less than if we pay it to the insurance company.
Right.
And we already pay for Medicare out of our paychecks as it is. So if you don't have to make an insurance payment, and your boss doesn't have to make an insurance payment, and you can negotiate that cash back into your, because it's a benefit.
Right.
People give you insurance as a benefit to entice you to work for them. Now they can give you more cash because they don't have to pay for the benefit.
Right. Yeah,
that's the way it works,
But why couldn't she communicate that during the debate? I wonder.
Well, she tried to say that. I mean, that was what she was saying.
Yeah.
She was saying, "I'm not going to sign something that's going to cost more than it does now," and it's how you pay. Basically, the same thing even Bernie said. Yes, it's going to raise the taxes because that's the part that we're going to pay. But we're not going to be paying money to the insurance company. So you take your insurance payment and you send it to the government instead. That's all.
Yeah.
And it'll be less because everybody's in.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Bernie seemed to be much more able to just kind of boil it down into a couple of sentences than she was able to.
Well, he's been doing it for a long time.
That's true. That's a good point. Yes.
Well, that's because Bernie
he's got it down.
more honest.
He's got the 5-minute death presentation. Down. He's cut out all the middle chaff and said, "This is what we need to do. We need to make sure we have child care for people."
Right.
John Hopwood is
that
here.
Kind of stuff.
I don't know if you heard John.
Hey, John, how are you?
Hi. These are policies that Bernie's been for since I first heard about him in 1974 when I was 14 years old, and he's running for governor in Vermont. My father used to live up in Burlington, Vermont. So these are his policies, and
right. Oh, they all are. They're all using his policies. You're right.
He is a social democrat, although he's never really called himself that. He calls himself a socialist, like a Norman Thomas socialist, and he is who he is.
That's certainly that word scares people.
Yes.
Oh, it always has. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any
thanks, John.
Well, yeah, Bernie, this is his policy. He's this isn't something he has to make up or apologize for. You're never going to see Bernie back down, about something that he's been. This is basically him for 40 or more years.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Did you have any other thoughts on the debate, Fred?
Well, with Beto, it's the problem with that I find with Beto, and I do like the man, and I don't know if I'd want him for president, but I do like the man, and I wish he would run for senator and get some experience, and then go do this again, and then he'd have a little, he'd have the spirit and the knowledge.
Right.
But that's a good point.
For me, the thing about the guns thing, as scary as it sounds, and it really does sound scary, because I know people. I mean, I grew up in a house with 90 guns. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing they're going to get that's going to work. I mean, when you think about it, if we don't get rid of the guns, those, people are just going to keep killing each other. 40,000 people die of guns each year, and that doesn't happen other places. We got to figure out something. And if it means, okay, everybody, look, are we okay with 40,000 deaths a year or not?
I guess we are.
And if it's your kid that's dead, it means more to you than if it's somebody else's kid. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
But if it can happen in your school, that's the problem. I mean, kids get shot in school. That's scary. I could understand, they were at a party in a bar, but no, they're at school.
It did happen to my neighbors. I lived in Danbury, Connecticut, and Sandy Hook was the next town over. But I used to be a member of the NRA, but I quit. I would just, limit it to military class weapons, and you don't need a sniper rifle. And
I think realistically the most.
Okay, that's what he said.
But one of the problems we have is we do have a Second Amendment, and there was a great article.
Why is the Second Amendment a problem?
I didn't say there was a problem. Well,
Yes, you did. That's exactly what you just said.
Well, the problem of that would be the Second Amendment. There's a great article from 1992. Was by a liberal. It was in the Law Review Journal that's been a right, and it's on most of the state constitutions of the time. Mm-hmm. You just can't deny that is a right. Yeah. But of course, no right's absolute. There's no the right. The First Amendment. You can't defame, libel, defamation. Child pornography is so abhorrent. It has a lesser standard when it comes to like indicting people for that and everything. And you can't argue that's free speech. It's covered.
Right. These rights are not absolute, and you can restrict and regulate them.
I believe, you have a right to a gun, but it's reasonable. It has to be reasonable. So I've lived in I believe in the right to have and bear an arm, but I don't need a sniper rifle. I don't need an AK-47.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think the most you can realistically hope for, honestly, is a return of the assault weapons ban. But other than that, you're never going to...
With a little bit of teeth in it, and universal background check.
Yes, right. and no gun show.
Universal background check.
But,
there's no gun show loophole. That is absolutely hanging bull.
That's not true. I've seen no people.
I've been to umpteen gun shows, and they all get background checks. Nobody gets handed a gun in a New Hampshire gun show without getting a background check.
In Texas, they do.
I'm not in Texas. I'm here in New Hampshire. There's no gun show loophole in the state of New Hampshire. So don't throw that out there.
No, I know people that bought guns in Texas at gun shows.
Can you sell a gun in New Hampshire to your neighbor?
That has nothing to do with a gun show. There's a difference between a private sale and a gun show. Yes, I can sell.
Well, no, but
by law, if a person is known to me as a resident of the state of New Hampshire, and I know that they can legally possess a firearm, I can sell that firearm to them, or they can sell a firearm to me if I meet the standard as well.
And somebody
that in the state of New Hampshire. However, if you're going to use that as your yardstick, then you want to explain to me why every other state that isn't allowed in has more gun crime than the state of New Hampshire.
Listen, I've lived in these states, and there's one thing that...
I've never lived anywhere but New Hampshire, John.
Well, I'm not saying. I've lived in plenty of states, and one of the things when I belonged to the NRA, I used to write letters and everything, it's in, when there is a level of guns, like in, say, Dallas or Houston, there's higher crime. And guns from New Hampshire are all over the eastern seaboard. That's been true. What are you saying? That's true. Since 1970.
You want to make changes to our society that are actually going to enact change instead of a bunch of let's make everybody have feel-good legislation. Then why don't you get parents to be parents again and stop sending their kids off to the warehouse of school for parents to not pay any attention, for teachers to not be allowed to discipline and have to basically babysit your brat who doesn't have any manners, who doesn't have any value of life because they haven't been raised with it. We stopped raising our kids with basic moral values. And that is the biggest problem we have in society. And until we start addressing the real issue, it's not going to change the violence. You can take away
That's not true, because I've seen violence in my lifetime.
Take away the AK. What is the next thing that somebody's going to use? Somebody bent on doing a crime is going to do it, no matter what they have to do to make it happen.
But that's
why
true.
they're criminals.
That's not true. You can't.
Oh, please. That's not true.
I've been around guns probably longer than you've been alive, and I've been in the military.
Just because you're old doesn't mean you're smart.
I know what a military-style weapon, an assault weapon, can do. I know the entire philosophy of it.
So you're aware that some of these assault weapon laws were written so stupidly they actually outlawed some 22s? Because of their appearance? Because of their appearance?
A 22 can pierce our
So
body
you're in favor of banning a 22, which is the smallest caliber bullet you can get.
That's not even what I'm saying.
Well, you just said that.
No, I didn't say
I gave you a perfect example of where the assault weapons ban failed, and that's what you give me.
How did it fail?
New Jersey literally had it on the books that you could
Why are you
could
so
not own
passionate
a
about
22
guns?
Because I am very passionate about the ability to defend yourself. I have been in the situation with my infant son, and the only thing between the criminal, my son, and me was the gun that I had in my lap. I don't need
in your pocketbook.
I don't carry an AK in my pocketbook. No, and I didn't. I don't necessarily.
Then all I'm saying is, what would you need to protect yourself in any urban setting?
Whatever I damn well feel is necessary.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is. If
you will end up killing
I
somebody
pick up as a weapon,
in anger.
Whatever I pick up as a weapon to defend myself.
In the street without having some kind of a
nobody said anger.
Have you ever fired a weapon in anger?
Absolutely not. I can legitimately sit here, stare at you, and tell you absolutely.
So you don't know how.
Not.
So you don't know what you're going to do in that situation.
I do know that in that situation, in that moment, my adrenaline and my emotion wasn't anger. It was fear. I was in fear for my life and the life of my son, and I had no escape out of that apartment.
I believe people have a right to firearms.
And you know what? That was in Massachusetts, and the police officer who was on the phone with me knew full well I had the firearm and encouraged me to make sure that I had it correctly, because they could hear it in the background. As fast as they were trying to get an officer to me in the middle of downtown Plymouth, Massachusetts.
And did that stop? What was the firearm?
It was actually a 22.
And that stopped the situation.
That was what it was between.
So you don't
me
need
and
an AK-47.
I never said that I did. What I said to you, John, if you were listening, was that the assault weapons bans were not necessarily written correctly. If you want to make a specific AK illegal, then talk about that. I'm telling you that the laws were written.
All 22s weren't eliminated, were they? The type of weapon
you're right. You're exactly right. The NRA made sure they got to know what the rules were.
Let Fred say something here.
Say that again,
You're
Fred.
saying that all 22s are banned, but your 22 wouldn't have been banned.
Yes, because the NRA helped write those laws. That's why.
I'm no fan of the NRA.
And the thing is, and 1 second, one second. The thing about universal background checks is, and like you said, well, you can sell a gun to somebody you know. Well, here's the deal. You don't necessarily know somebody unless they get a background check.
Right.
I mean, that's the truth. You may think you know somebody, but you don't necessarily know somebody. And so everybody that has a gun, I'm okay with if you have a gun. I don't care. I have a gun. But you got to be able to pass a universal background check, period. And it doesn't mean
the law
you
anyway.
give your son a
law
gun.
on the law on the books. The law already exists on the books, which we can easily put into action. If you cannot legally own and possess a firearm under the law, under both state and federal law, you are a criminal. Period.
So what?
What do you mean, so what?
So what?
What does that mean?
Why can you buy one?
If I can't legally possess a firearm, if I cannot legally possess a firearm, I can't legally pass the background check.
That doesn't make sense.
Oh, for God's sakes. It does to me. I don't know what your problem is.
I can't sell you one.
Whiteboard.
I can sell you a gun if you can't pass the background check. I can legally sell you a gun.
No.
I don't have to know
by
you.
law, you've
All I
just
have to
broken
know
the
is that you said you wanted to buy a gun.
That's not true.
I don't have to have paperwork. I don't have to have anything.
You're talking about
right?
You're talking about
show me where my law here in the state of New Hampshire that is perfectly fine with that has caused an increase in gun crime by comparison to where you're pointing it out. Because everywhere that you can point to that has laws restricting that, actually has a higher gun crime rate than the state of New Hampshire. So look at actual, instead of using hyperbole, instead of blowing everything up, look at actual reality.
The crime has gone up in New Hampshire.
I have
a right to defend myself.
Illinois.
That's not the.
It's not Chicago. That may be a town with a lot.
Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. How's that working out for them, there, buddy?
It always did.
Really, it's really always working out for them.
You know why they have laws? Because they are hyper violent. Just like New York City.
Chicagoans are hyper violent?
Have you ever lived there? Have you ever?
Really?
But see, you're making these false syllogisms.
No, I'm not.
They have the laws because they have a great deal of crime.
And you want to know something?
In New Hampshire,
New Jersey,
has gone up.
Some of the strictest gun laws in the country. How's their gun crime rate?
Well,
they're the ones that actually used an assault weapons ban to make it 22 illegal, but a 50 cal was legal. So there's where your smartness goes in this legislation.
What you're saying is not logically true.
That is true. Go look it up. Go look it up. That is an actual fact.
It doesn't ban all. You're saying it banned all 22.
New Jersey passed an assault weapons ban. In that ban, due to the descriptors, they ended up banning 22.
So you can't buy in New Jersey a Ruger 22 pistol. That's not true.
They've changed their law, but look it up.
What's
that
the caliber of an M16?
Listen to me, buddy.
223.
I'm not sitting here playing guessing games with you. I'm telling you an actual fact of law. If you don't believe me, get out your little smarty phone and Google
You're
it.
saying that they banned 22s. All 22s?
They did.
All 22s were banned.
Listen to me, buddy.
No, what you
semi-automatics.
New Jersey
screwed
up when they passed the law.
And that can't be righted, huh?
Yes, it can be righted. However, this is the stupidity that happens when you use fear to institute law rather than logic and science.
Tell me about how the gun violence has gone up in Manchester and the state of New Hampshire in this decade.
Yeah, what else has gone up?
Oh, which has?
Really? What do you put up? What has caused that, John? What changed? Did our gun laws change? No, our gun laws didn't change. Did our criminal codes change? No, that didn't happen.
I don't know what
changed in the state of New Hampshire, John? To bring more violence into the state of New Hampshire, John?
You just talked about your law.
More drunks.
You just talked about your law.
There's your problem.
What law got passed in this? There must be nothing that we passed.
What do we have problem here? We have Manchester being smart and actually stepping up and having Safe Station, and we have other people trying to shut it down when we're trying to help the people that are suffering, that are actually the ones that are robbing places because they're desperate for their next fix.
Fred,
the city of Manchester is actually trying to help.
You said you had your law. What was your law here in New Hampshire?
Hang on. Let Fred get him.
How do you explain countries with less guns have less in civilized countries have less gun deaths?
I'm glad you asked me that.
I mean, how does that work? I mean, in most countries, why do we have so many gun deaths?
From my recent travels
That's the question.
I'm absolutely going to answer the question. From my recent travels in Europe, I will tell you that the biggest things that I have noticed is extraordinarily amount of parental involvement in children. I see children who actually mind their manners and don't behave like they do around here. Nobody was running out with their underwear half hanging out. People actually gave a care about how they carry themselves and how they behave. I don't see the behaviorisms that I see here. I don't see the 13-year-old screaming at the elderly lady and calling her names because they think it's funny. I don't see the zombie walking down the street who's strung out on drugs.
Well, you didn't live in the 1960s.
I didn't see any of that. I was all over the place in Europe. I went to small little villages and big cities, and I didn't see that. I didn't see trash in the streets because people actually gave a care and put the trash where it belongs. I didn't see dirty diapers and old furniture laying around because people actually get rid of their stuff. People care about themselves. They're better.
You think the kids are better educated?
They're absolutely better educated. Every single child I met over there knew how to speak Dutch, knew how to speak English, and a lot of them also knew how to speak Frisian. 3 different languages.
And they probably have good school systems, local.
They all ride their bicycles
and they're
to
all
school. There's no buses.
Right?
They don't
bus
bus
them. In most
them.
cases, they're standardized.
The kids are they have multiple different school settings. One of the kids I'm aware of is in military school right now. I know of another student that was in a specialty school. They have different schools. They do a lot more recognition of special needs, I think, in some respects than we do. But overall, the biggest difference is people care about themselves. So they spend a lot more money on
education and focus on that, which is probably a good thing, right?
Focusing on what? Education?
Education.
Of course. My point
they
is
also have one of the third best healthcare systems in the world where we don't even rank.
Universal education. We have child care, prenatal child care.
They have better medical care.
To do that in this country.
They have better infrastructure. They take better care of their roads. Everybody rides a bicycle pretty much. I mean, there's even 5-year-olds riding a bicycle to school.
How many people live in Netherlands?
Working.
Look it up. I don't know, actually. But I know there's a lot.
Very small countries like Denmark, they're not comparable to the United States, which has 330 million people.
Oh, so that somehow is the excuse for us to be rude to one another, to trash our streets, to not give a care about our world? Americans are pigs. I'm embarrassed as an American to come home and realize how piggy we are. Throwing trash out your window, throw your cigarette butt out the car window, dirty diaper in the street. You don't see that there because they actually take pride and they raise their kids to be that way.
Do you think if you live in a section of like Los Angeles, San Francisco, that's upper middle class or rich, that people are pigs? I mean,
you know what? If there's trash all over the street and you're throwing it all out there and you don't give a care about your environment, there's
you're a pig. Upper middle class suburbs like Chicago. My father lived in. It's not living in Manchester.
I think if you don't care about the world around you, and that's the example you give the youth,
you're talking about all America.
Getting back what you give.
All America
the youth of today behaves like crap. Because that's what they see the adults doing. We got the President of the United States calling people a-holes. We've got...
Now we're getting back to Matt Connarton.
Pick your poison. This is what our youth is looking at in America, and boy, we better wake up and pay attention. And the left and the right don't have any corner on the market on this. And I don't care who wants to tell me I'm wrong, be my guest. But when a child understands morality and gives a care, they treat each other better. They don't look to kill each other because they actually value each other's lives.
What about England, where England is more like the United States and
I haven't gone to England, so I'm not going to make a judgment call there yet.
Yeah, but you have people, there's a lot of class conflict.
I personally am not, and have
but
people
they don't,
there.
And they did not have a problem with guns till after, from the year 2000, there was 2 events happened. There was an influx of guns from the Yugoslavian wars and the crack trade.
You can keep trying to Band-Aid the world, but this world is not going to get better until we actually start going to the root of our problems and not piecemealing out what our little specialty is.
Now, London has a higher murder rate than New York City, which seems incredible.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah, because I went there.
It's a little silly in Texas that might actually top that one.
I went there. I've been there like all my adult life.
Maybe because a lot of people aren't getting murdered in New York.
Not as much as they used to be.
They're getting killed by the cops in Texas. They actually had more crime in that one little town than they have in some nations.
Yeah, well, Texas is pretty wide open.
Oh, why do you have an excuse for everything?
What do you mean why do you say an excuse? Have you lived in Texas? Texas is wide open.
I wouldn't want to. They like to kill people a lot.
Live free or die. Yeah, and that's the thing. You're living there.
Live free or die. It's wide open. People aren't on top of each other, but more people died in one United States city than in a nation.
We're going to...
that's true.
By law-abiding gun owners.
I'll talk to you later, Bob.
They were cops.
All right, Fred. Thank you so much for the call. Take care. All right. Fred Bonig from the Daily Ripple leaves us. Somebody else is... we'll get somebody else in here. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hi, Matt. This is Mary. I have to agree. Jenny, you're right. 100%.
Thank you, sweetheart.
About what?
People throwing their garbage around, because a week ago I saw somebody throw their garbage because somebody gave them something to eat, and they took their garbage and threw it right on the ground.
Yeah.
And I had to say something, and I says to the guy, do you mind picking it up? It looks a mess. I mean, there's no need of putting it in your backpack, put it anywhere but on the ground. He came back at me. I don't have respect for you or anybody else. He was one of them that was panhandling. And Jenny, I agree with you 100%.
But you're talking. What about Palo Alto? I lived in. They didn't have problems like Manchester.
Can we talk about the here and now?
How is Palo Alto not the here now? You talk about the United States.
She just called to say what she feels about right
here.
Manchester,
New Hampshire isn't the world.
A person who lives here just called to give you an opinion of here, and you're on the other side of the freaking country.
But you said the U.S.
Hang on. Let's let Mary go. All right, Mary, thank you for the call,
my friend. All right, catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Manchester, New Hampshire isn't the world, for God's sake. It was like this back when I was a kid in the 70s.
Wait a minute. Didn't you just a few minutes ago claim that all the crime was up and there's a reason for that and that's why we need more gun laws?
I'm asking you.
You just contradicted yourself there, buddy. Pick a side.
No, you're just bulldozing.
No, I'm not. You just completely contradicted the beginning of your own conversation. You completely contradicted yourself.
But you said that you're law.
Welcome back to your own show.
I thought you were
did he contradict himself or not?
I can't get you to agree on any set. See, the problem is you move the ball all the time. It's like 22.
Whatever excuse suits your need there, buddy.
Why do you keep saying that? There's something called logic. Now,
I know very much what logic is.
You can't say that a 20.
I don't need
they
you
ban
to
a 22
educate
because
me, John Hopwood.
No, but you keep saying the word excuse. You can't
because you come up with excuses for every reason why you can't be right.
No, you can't stand being contradicted.
You can't stand being wrong.
Because what you're saying about 22, you said they banned all 22s. They didn't. Just because you can bulldoze somebody doesn't make you right.
I'm not bulldozing
you. Are.
It's an absolute
Tell me
fact.
what the 22. You have absolute
look it up.
facts.
You got the phone right in front of you. Look it up.
What phone?
New Jersey had I don't know if it still is the case, present day, when they passed their assault weapons ban, the way that they word the stuff out, they actually managed to make a 22 illegal versus a 50 cal.
All 22s. Every 22.
Okay, so the lawyer whose video that I watched who actually expressed this and helped to fight against laws in New Jersey must have been full of it.
Okay, so it's somebody that's fighting against the laws of New Jersey. He would never have a bias.
Dude.
He would never have a bias. No, he would never have a bias.
When you're giving a law class on what the gun laws are for your state, you kind of have to stick to the facts.
And what's the fact there? So there's no bias.
Because in that state, it's actually a required class in order to get your license, in order to actually have a gun.
By making funny voices isn't logic. I'm just saying they didn't ban all 22.
I wasn't making funny voices. I was breathing.
Yeah. You're talking about a video of somebody who is
Look up
biased.
the law, buddy. I read it years ago. I did my homework then. Look it up. You want to say I'm wrong? Prove it. I have nothing to prove.
So all 20, you won't answer, all 22s were banned.
At that period of time, the long rifle 22 was accidentally screwed up and banned because of the way that they...
That's what you had as a weapon, the long rifle?
You have to remember that laws, when they are written descriptively, can often describe things they weren't intended to be.
And I worked at the National Whistleblower Center, and
I wrote laws and I passed them as a legislator. So what's your point?
Tell us about your law, because you've mentioned the law.
Oh, for God's sakes.
What's the law? You said your law.
In the context of the conversation we were having at that time, I was referring to New Hampshire state law versus other state laws, John.
You weren't saying something that when you were a legislator.
No, sir. I know
you passed a law about knives.
And guns.
What was the...
SB 88, which is the Stand Your Ground bill.
I keep asking you about that.
That is the Stand Your Ground bill.
Tell us what that is.
That was the bill that would prevent there being another of the bird situations where we had a man who was facing...
Who's bird? I'm just asking.
There was a gentleman here in the state of New Hampshire who was potentially facing jail time for showing a firearm on his own property after somebody had gone through all of his no trespassing signs every 50 feet. He was very well signaged, fence and everything. Dude had had cardiac surgery. Person comes on his property, not supposed to be there. They call the cops and go, oh, somebody had a gun. And they're going to get the rest of this guy and put him in jail. So
why would they do that?
Because they got him for criminal threatening. They claimed it was criminal threatening.
Who came onto his land?
It was a woman who was claiming to be looking at property that she wanted to buy in order to maintain animals that needed to be taken care of, even though she'd been previously found guilty of animal abuse. So take that with what you will.
No, I think you do have a right to stand
ended
your
up
ground.
in a very serious
but I'm
situation
what
because
your
of
law
New Hampshire
was.
law. The law changed that a person has the right to be able to defend themselves, and that merely your alarm is not, and it does not make somebody a criminal. You being alarmed at the sight of a firearm does not make one a criminal. Somebody brandishing it at you, that's a different story, depending on the situation.
But
so we got to that.
Define brandishing, though, because I've heard different people with
that would be like cocking
pointing it at you.
Oh, pointing
waving it around at you.
A battery.
So just pulling it out. Just pulling it out. In
being
of
armed.
Well, I mean,
see, that's what I mean. I hear
there are AGs out there that have prosecuted people for the mere showing of a firearm, though it was not pointed at the individual. The claim is that they were waving it around in a menacing way,
That's why
or that when they pulled it out, it was a threatening action to pull it out, even though it wasn't pointed at the person. So that's actually been a sticking point, and I'm not sure where the laws are on that right now. It's not something I really follow. I follow healthcare a lot.
That's what I thought you guys were going to be talking about.
Well, we were until you showed up.
How you mean Fred Boning switched into this?
No, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, you know what? It was because we were talking about the debate and Beto O'Rourke and his mandatory.
I thought he was a jerk. We already have one 14-year-old. Who needs that? My point was when you say, "Oh, we're going to take away everybody's AK-47." That's really a red flag and POs people, and that type of discussion isn't needed. And you have to recognize that there is a Second Amendment, and you have a right to a firearm, and you have a right to stand your ground, to self-defense. Mm-hmm. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So now we know what your law was, which is something I agree with.
So Mike Pelopita in the Facebook live chat says, "Hi, everyone. Very passionate show today."
After all this, we have to I agree with you.
We'll get to Stefan's comments in a moment because he had a lot to say.
Stephen Philbrook?
Yep. Bill Murphy also joins us in the Facebook live chat. Of course, we saw Bill today at the Don't Punish Pain rally up in Concord. So very nice to see Bill. He's been on the show several times. Hope to have him on again soon. He has, yes.
Where's the kid? Did he have a tremendous date and is now lost? Christian.
Oh.
Am I supposed to be his daddy or something?
Not his daddy.
John Hopwood is my daddy. John Hopwood is my daddy. John Hopwood is my daddy.
He's about 18. I could be.
John. Oh, Jesus.
Who's that witch cackling?
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
I winked at you.
Excuse me a minute.
I winked at you.
I'm gonna
it is
play
almost.
some golf
I winked at you.
It is almost
I
Halloween.
knew it was you.
You don't mind if I play some golf in the studio, do you, there, Matt?
Yeah, actually,
as long as you're careful about the balls that you
that would
putt.
be. Yes,
it is a white cane, so I do have an excuse of.
Oh,
I think that would be very bad. So Stefan says Second Amendment is not an individual right. Militia.
It is an individual
plural.
right.
That's not.
That's
true.
bull. Nobody would believe that. It is an individual right.
Commerce matter.
It's always been.
Commerce matter in law.
Well, a lot of liberals do believe what Stefan is saying, but I would disagree. I agree with both of you on that.
But that's because the individuals
Supreme Court
made
also
up the militia.
disagreed as well.
The militia is every male from 18 to 60 and all women who have been military officers to the age of like 50 or something. It was set in 1950.
The militia back then was just a bunch of farmers with pitchforks and whatever else they could
No,
carry
they
out.
had firearms. My great-great-great-great-great-grandfather.
I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying that they were average people.
To get the militia together to go after the French and the Indians in King George's War in 1740.
This is interesting, too. Stefan said he's a lifelong resident of Manchester.
He is.
And Manchester is much safer than it was when he was younger. And
that's not true.
He says statistics support that.
I wonder about that, to be honest with you, because over the last 3 years or so, actually within the last year, there really has been an uptick.
Well, there is
in my neighborhood on the west side. I know there has been because unfortunately I see it in my neighborhood watch app all the time.
It started a couple of years ago. There was
car break-ins are really big.
About 2016, in 2015, but 2016 it started spiking. We were shootings. 2015, a policeman gets shot over at Rock Rimmon. Near Rock Rimmon, which you'd never have seen before. His body armor saved him. And then there was...
Well, it's not true to say that it's not been seen before, especially on today. I'm going to correct you.
No, in Manchester.
Because today I do believe is the day that we remember Officer Briggs.
Right. But I'm just saying, these things just didn't happen. When Officer Briggs was shot, or the guy, I can't remember his name, 1976, that was something. If somebody got shot and killed... You remembered it, there just wasn't many murders.
That's what I mean. And I don't know, Matt, if you agree, but
it seems
you would hear about something and it would kind of catch your attention. And now it seems to be happening a lot more frequently.
I would have to see numbers. Right. To me, that's
police
all
shootings.
To me, that's all perception because we live in an age where you can get news instantly on the internet. So that's why.
No, it's true.
That's why so many people walk around believing the world is getting worse and worse all the time.
Well,
when it's actually statistically getting more and more safe.
I'm going by the actual alerts that I have.
But
it seems like there are more.
But those aren't hard numbers. It seems like there are more, but I don't even perceive it that way. So it's a matter of perception.
And they use FBI paradigms to finally codify the statistics. That's police calls or something.
I'd like to see actual numbers.
There's more shootings.
Yeah, I mean, you have a point there.
There's more shootings of police, that's for sure, because that's something that's always reported.
But you've seen actual numbers? You've seen actual statistics that show that?
No, well, actually, that's true. According to the federal crime statistics, if you go look up the federal crime statistics, officer-involved shootings are up across the board, across the country. It's not indicative strictly to our state or even our city. Yeah. It's something that is upticked across the nation.
Okay.
That's right. And it must be because, like you were saying about drugs.
It's got nothing to do with the guns because that didn't change. It's got to do with the people.
That's true.
Bottom line.
Well, there's a lot
Nothing's going to get better till we change.
There's a lot of despair out there. The difference between, in the early 70s when they closed down the last shoe shop and the factories, people were kind of desperate. But then we got the defense spending of the Reagan years came up here. But, you have a whole generation of people. They used to call it with the first Generation X McJobs, where I lost my last 3 jobs were offshored. But, one of the jobs was 13 years long. Then they would get shorter. But people, you have no stability where you go into a company and make a career other than being like a professional, like a lawyer or something, and know that you're going to stick with that company. And it creates a lot of anxiety. In fact, there used to be a paradigm in political science that a society fails when the people can no longer plan on their future. And we have a generation of people that aren't so well, we call them not so well educated and that. You could go into a shoe shop, you could go into a factory, and you could work. Mm-hmm. But now it's a series of service jobs. It's not exactly like you're, winning the lottery, I guess, is your greatest hope. And that must create a tremendous amount of anxiety. And, you just flake out with dope or you just break down somehow. I just see there's a lot of despair out there.
Stefan says, I agree, good parenting does have something to do with it. However, if a good kid wants to kill a bunch of people, they will probably choose a gun over a baseball bat. Lots more effective.
Most good kids wouldn't try and kill people, but hey.
He also says militia is in there to clarify that it is not an individual right.
That's not true.
Not true.
Let me finish reading the comment. White slave owners did not want firearms to be an individual right.
Then why is that?
No, actually, white slave owners did not want black slaves or freedmen to be able to own firearms. If you go back and you look at United States history, and when it comes to gun laws, the beginning of gun laws was literally had to do with racism. It was about keeping firearms out of the black people's hands, just like marriage licenses were created to stop people from interracial marriage.
That's overstated.
We did not have to have a license. You got married, you put it in the paper, that was it. Marriage licensing was to stop interracial marriage.
I'm sure
just as much as the gun laws were to keep them out of the minority hand.
First of all, blacks weren't even people, and Dred Scott.
That's not true. That's not true. They're free people.
They're not citizens.
They were free people. They were free men, and they wanted the law. They changed the law to keep them from to make it harder for them to be able to arm themselves.
The
just like the laws that were passed that said if you couldn't read and write, you couldn't vote.
Let's go back to the reality of the Constitution, because they have the same laws in New England. Maine, the Constitution, when it split off in 1820 from Massachusetts, one of the first things, if you look into the state constitutions, they got one of the first rights they enumerate is the right to keep and bear arms, and there's nothing about a militia. So the point is that was all through the North, and that because blacks were chattel. They were all other persons. Taney.
At the time of the creation of the Constitution, yes, you're correct. But at the time of the start of gun laws being passed, we had segregation and racism prevalent.
That's a mean.
There's a really great book that I can show you that was written by Aaron Zellman, who was the founder, and he passed away, of the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. And it actually has copies of documentation to show you where some laws came from, and I would be more than happy to share that with you.
You already have.
Well, look in it and read it, because then you can see what I'm saying is true.
No, that's not. But you see, you're taking that and you're casting it everywhere. The Sullivan Act in 1912.
Copies of the
in
bills
New York.
and the laws are right there in the book. Read it and weep. That's the law, black and white, like it or not. That's what it was.
Right, and so you know every law in the United States.
Of course
and that
not.
covered every law in the United States.
Of course not, but this is a particular area that I did spend a great deal of time in.
Not all. It doesn't have to all.
Which explains why I have all those books in my house that I've read.
And I have plenty of books, too.
Have you read Zellman's book?
You showed me it.
I showed it to you, but have you read it? Have you actually analyzed it?
Why can't we just have a conversation with what we talk about? You know, you've got to go off on all these tangents about, now it's racism. That's not true. It's not absolutely true. It might be in the South and stuff, and it might be a factor.
Why? Because the North didn't have racists? The North didn't have racist law?
That is a trope.
Are you out of your mind? You thought racism stopped at the border?
A lot. Listen, I'll match my view of history against you or anybody about what that. I know about the history of America, and we're trying to have a conversation, but you bring this.
You are the ultimate computer who knows all.
You don't want to talk about history. You bring this thing that, it's all racism. But that's not true.
I am talking about history. I asked you if you read a book that actually has the documents in it, copies of the documents in it, the laws in it, the speeches in it, about the creation of gun laws that were based out of racism, and you're like, I saw it. Yeah.
Right. So
I know the laws. I know it better than you.
See, now you're making this ugly voice to try to put me down, but you won't talk about
because you're being ridiculous.
I am because your contention that it's all about racism.
Factual places where you can look at the data, and you're giving me your brainchild because that is the law.
You know, you're impossible to argue with.
Good. Stop.
So is this the book that contends that the 1968, the gun control law came out of Nazi Germany?
Yes, it does, actually. It has a copy of the Nazi law and the American law and how it was changed and enacted. So, yes, it is actually in the book.
And what did I tell you when I read that? That was a law that was based on the German law that preceded Hitler. So it wasn't a Nazi law per se. It was a German law. It's continental law.
It was a law that was absolutely racist and specifically banned Jews.
But those were the Nuremberg laws.
They took the word Jews out.
And the law
before they passed the 1968 Gun Act
the law that they adapted already existed in Germany.
They took a Nazi racist law and put it into American law.
Can you understand what logic is?
I will show it to you in black and white.
You showed me it. The law existed in Germany before Hitler.
Evidence-based information doesn't get through your brain pan.
You just want to believe what you want to believe.
No, I'm looking at evidence-based material.
So the fact
there's the law.
Why don't you stop talking for a second?
Here it is in English. Read it and weep. It's that simple.
So the law that existed before Hitler, that it adapted and added the Jews into, that doesn't count.
Look at Buddy.
No, you answer that. That law existed before,
I will
get
the book, and I will bring it to you to show you yet again what the Nazi law was, when it was passed, and how it was duplicated in the United States.
Right, and the law didn't come out.
Do you agree or disagree that racist German law showed up in the United States and was utilized?
No, I don't. That's ridiculous.
Really?
Yes.
Really? The Gun Control Act isn't almost verbatim from that Nazi law, huh? You know about it, but it's not real.
What makes you can't you understand this? That the law that got passed, again, by the Reichstag under Hitler, under the Führerprinzip, which they added the Jews to, was already existing continental law.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about Jewish history. Educate me,
No, you
buddy.
won't. So that the law that existed
Educate me on my own history. Go ahead.
You're impossible. You don't.
You're ridiculous. You don't look at actual data and facts.
I did look at actual data.
No,
in your book,
didn't. You said,
I
saw the book.
Anything.
That's it. But it's in black and white. The actual bills are side by side in the freaking book.
Yeah, and you translated exactly from German.
Okay, Aaron Zellman was a liar then, eh? The Jews for Preservation of Firearm
just like I thought,
are using
that bill that you're talking about.
You gonna tell me the Holocaust was a joke now, Dex, too? That's not real?
You're absurd.
Oh, there he goes. He's gonna run away now. He's gonna have his tail between his legs.
You're a bully.
No,
you are a bully.
You are.
Now we're at the level of a child.
Really?
Yes, because I'm trying to contend that the law, which you will never let me say, already existed, and then it was adapted. So that law that you say is racist had already existed and was in effect without putting the racial
component. Yes, because as you put it, the book that I read it from was illicitly translated and didn't really have the word Jews all over the law.
And what was the law that existed before Hitler?
Sure.
So you just can't accept the logic that the law that was adapted
No,
and
I'm
put
not
the law
going to
that
accept
already
your
existed.
failed logic over the actual data and materials that I've actually seen with my own eyes of history.
So that
versus your brain pan. Absolutely.
You're you're crazy. I got to say that you can't even realize that law was adapted by a continental law, the German, under the.
No wonder you're having babies in Canada.
Why do you do this? Why do you have to bully? I'm just talking
being
about
a bully.
Yeah, you are. You can't even accept the reality is that law already was on the books before it was adapted.
I'll be more than happy to bring the book into you so you can refresh your memory of history.
I don't
because us Jews didn't write the truth about it. We just stuck our name in there just to make it look like it was actually that because it wasn't, right?
Number one, I said nothing like that.
Yeah, you did.
You
got to question the translation.
Why don't you
what
listen?
Else is that?
What
else does that mean? You question the translation. What does that mean? What does that mean, John? You doubted me on the translation of the German law and that the word Jews is actually not in the bill. So go ahead, John.
Ridiculous.
Tell me how I'm wrong.
Why don't you can come to my friggin' house? I got a whole library on the Germans and about how the Führer principle comes out of the König principle.
I'm glad that you've studied all of that insanity. Goody for you.
Oh yeah,
I'm talking about the actual
no history.
We're talking about one specific law, we're talking about the Gun Control Act of 1968 and where it came
the law,
from.
the basis of the law already existed before Hitler. And then it was adapted after the Nuremberg.
All these people that wrote all about that and translated it are all full of bunk, and only John Hopwood knows the truth.
So the original law that was written for every German was racist. Before Hitler.
I'm lying, John. Just call me a liar. Go ahead.
That was all. That was all racist. Right?
All you doing? I know what I read. I know the facts that were put in front of me. I'm sorry that you don't agree with actual black and white evidence.
You can even look in the book and see where it is, where the law came from.
Yeah, and it had Jews all in it. Because that word was removed.
Jenny, the law existed under the Kaiser.
The law that was used in the 1968
Republic.
United States Act was taken from freaking Nazis.
No, it wasn't.
Go ahead. All right. Whatever.
It wasn't. Somebody can contend that, but it wasn't.
Yes, Aaron Zellman wrote lies. Yeah. Joe's for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, a national organization that spent their entire inception studying these matters and pulling these matters and studying history. They're all wrong because Hopwood's right.
And so everything in gun control is just racism because that's their bias.
A lot of gun control is born from racism and did come born out of racism. And if you don't believe that,
I know that's
a
trope. I know that's a trope. Like we have to always hear Gary, the Honorable Gary Hopper, about the Democrats being racist because of.
I didn't say anything of the
sort. Johnson.
No, he's making a comparison. He's not saying that you said that. He's saying Gary says that.
That's nice.
The law existed before. That's based on continental law.
He has to get the last word, or he's just an unhappy camper.
You do too.
Whatever, John.
You do too. The laws existed before the Nuremberg laws.
Listen to this.
Listen to what? Listen to the reality of what happened. The whole idea is Hitler despised the judiciary, and he was disgusted by the judges.
And gay people and.
Well, no, we're talking about the judiciary now and the law. He didn't want to have any judges of the law or the law. It's quite a fascinating history. And in fact, there was a separate Nuremberg trials for the jurists.
I don't find anything about Nazis fascinating. Sorry.
No, they're not.
Fails to be fascinating to somebody whose family was practically wiped out. Thanks.
What? My family went through the Holocaust in Ireland.
And I'm sorry for that. And I honor my family members that are listed in Yad Vashem. And I always will. And I hold that near and dear to my heart, and I do take it personally. And if you have a problem with that, I'm sorry.
But you always use these emotional arguments. Like all of a sudden we're trying to talk about Hitler and the judiciary and his hostility towards it, and that the fact that there was a Nuremberg trial. Oh, I don't want to hear about that. Well, it's fascinating, particularly since we have this jackass in the White House.
Hey, we have a call. We'll grab this quick. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
What's up, Matt? This is Tony.
Hey, Tony. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Just, I don't want to change the subject too much.
Oh, please.
But one thing I do know that every race, no matter whether black, white, or whatever, Spanish, whatever, anybody that's had their guns taken away from them was pretty much genocided. That's one thing I do know.
Agreed.
And you can look in the history of that, of any culture or anything that had their weapons taken away, the next step was genocide. Check it out.
Agreed.
All right, Tony. That's a great point. Thank you for the call.
Yeah, so that's a good point, so we can keep our weapons to defend ourselves. Doesn't matter what color you are, as long as we can defend ourselves. That's all I care about.
Agreed.
All right, Tony. Well, thank you for the call.
You got it, buddy. Take care. Bye.
All right, my friend. Bye-bye. All right.
So when they took all the weapons away from Englishmen, did they kill them?
I guess not.
Look at you. You make this face. Answer the question. English, they have the strictest gun laws. They didn't kill all the English, did they?
Well, that's a good point too.
France is
Democratic
unique.
version of a Trump.
How can you say that? Why don't you just answer a question? You're so self-satisfied.
No, you just say you have to be right on everything.
No, but
caller calls in, points out something that
so the English
is
took
historically
away
pretty
guns.
accurate if you look through the
because
centuries.
the English
I'm
took
gonna
away
find the one group of people that didn't get massacred and name them. That's
How
you.
about France? What about Netherlands?
I don't know. I haven't
what about
looked at their
Sweden?
histories. I'm worried about my own.
Sweden took away the guns and no, you're interested in Germany. You bring that up.
I did not.
Because you can take away people's guns and they're not going to massacre everybody.
I am not in favor of disarming this populace, but, knock yourself out there, buddy.
See, I can say I'm for guns and everything, and then you take it to an absurdum. It's ridiculous. You're too emotionally involved in this issue.
Yes, of course. Call me an emotional woman because that is the standard for every man in the world to use.
And
you
am I
are
wrong?
such a walking contradiction. It's ridiculous.
You
claim to be one thing and then you actually treat people differently. You claim to be all inclusive, but you're pulling out, you're an emotional person.
Men are never emotional.
Men are never emotional.
Men are never emotional.
Really?
Right?
You're not emotional there, John. You're not hot under the collar over there, John. Watching your mannerisms, the way you're shoving things around.
You're very unpleasant today to talk to because you're constantly turning stuff around. Because now I say, of course men are emotional. It's just not women. But see, I say, you're an emotional. So now it's got to become a woman. It's always got to be something about oppression.
Stop trying to claim the fact that my ideas are based out of my emotion versus the things that I know and understand. No, the knowledge and the study and the things that I learned have nothing to do with my opinion. It's all emotion based because I'm a woman.
Yeah, that's what I said. Men
that's
are
what
never
you're insinuating.
That's not what
you're
I'm
insinuating it.
No, it's not. Hey, we're already over 6:03.
Well, we're actually off the air on FM, but I let
so we can keep going at it.
But I let the Facebook Live video go, and it's still recording because I didn't want to.
You're evil.
What?
After the things that when we're off air, boy.
Oh, now we can F-bomb?
No,
because then
we're on Comcast.
Yeah.
No, the point is, I support almost everything you say, but you're talking about stuff, and I'm just talking about when you're
I'm talking
saying
about actual facts, John.
It's not.
You're calling emotion facts.
The fact is that the Nazi law is based on an extant German law that already existed.
The fact is the Nazi law that forbade the ownership of guns by Jews is the duplicitous.
The German law
was
already
duplicated
existed
in United
before
States
Hitler.
law in 1968 Gun Control Act.
It is a German law that was a common continental law.
So the books that I've read and everything was, as you
because
said,
they're not biased.
Not translated correctly.
Because
in
the people are
Hopwoodese.
biased, right?
People are biased, so they intentionally mistranslate it. You're telling me that everything that I was looking at by lawyers and other people is a bunch of blunk.
Oh,
a bunch of bull.
Lawyers aren't biased, right? I've been in I've been courtrooms and stuff.
Why
They're
don't
paid
you
to be biased.
get the copies of the things I'm talking about and prove it to me that it's wrong since my book is a lying book.
I can't.
Since Aaron Zellman and the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership are a bunch of blocky, and they printed this stuff for no good reason but to screw you over.
I can't prove that because you won't admit that
I'm not going to admit that
the law already existed. So to say that the law that it already existed, which is a common law. No, they did.
The law that was duplicated in 1968 Gun Control Act in the United States of America was a Nazi law.
No, it's not
true. And I will show it to you in black and white again if you promise to actually read it this time. You looked at it, but you didn't read it. You didn't read it. You're looking at it. You didn't read it. Open your eyes and read the stupid thing.
You know, Jenny, you want to believe what you want to believe and there's absolutely no
I have the evidence and the facts in my
home. So that the fact that the law had already been written,
look up and show it,
and then it was added to, that means nothing.
Oh, now you're saying it was added to. Who added
to
it, John?
I've been saying for about 40 minutes.
John? Who changed the law, John? What law was used to duplicate it in 1968 by the United States government? Nazi.
No, that's
Nazi law was used in 1968.
That's
Nazis
false. I reject
are the ones that put the language in there for Jews, and that is the law that was duplicated in 1968.
In the 1968 Act, Jews can't own firearms.
They took that word out, as I said it before.
So the law,
and I'll say it again.
You mean they went back to the law before the Nazis that already existed on the books?
Listen, buddy, what did you just say? The Nazis changed the law. Did you or did you not say that? Yes or no?
They changed the law to add the Nuremberg to add Jews, but that doesn't mean that the law
that was duplicated in 1968 was whose law?
The Imperial German law.
The Nazi
and it wasn't
German
even that.
law.
You don't understand law and how.
I don't understand law. I wrote law, helped pass law, but I don't understand law.
So you never saw a model law.
Excuse me?
You never saw a model law.
Of course I saw a model law.
Have you read
legislation,
read Supreme
mister?
Court? What organization did you belong to?
I started the knife freedom movement across this country.
So you know what a model law is.
That's also lookable on your Google search that you won't use.
My phone's dead.
Well, that's not my problem that you can't look it up, but look those things up. Find the facts for yourself.
I know what a model law is.
Because they're there.
You just want to believe what you want to believe.
Whatever.
I mean, look, you're talking about continental law. Those laws,
no, I'm
German
talking
laws.
about the Nazi
what is continental law? What is continental
law? That was duplicated in United States law in 1968. They took out the word Jew.
But that law was based on the law that already existed in Germany.
Okay, wait. So in your mind's eye, if something was written by, let's say, France in Louisiana, and then Louisiana took that law and kept it after the Louisiana Purchase, but they changed it up a little bit and they made it, Americans, it's still a French law.
Not a French law.
Well, yes, it is under your standards.
No, that's
under my standard.
No, that's under your standard. Your standard is Nazi.
The last hand that made the law was the law of the land.
Is the
one that's responsible for it.
So the Germans didn't get rid of the Nazi law, right? They didn't refine it. Did you ever look at the law after 1945 in Germany?
Did the United States government use that law as a model to put into the 1960s? Yes, they did. Read it.
No, they didn't.
Some of the sentences were almost verbatim. Have you read them?
You gave me the book, and what I saw was that the law existed before the Nazis.
Oh my God, that's all you saw?
And they just adapted
You didn't read anything. You just looked at pictures.
Right, I know, yeah, and I know nothing about...
I need to get you a pop-up book so you can get it?
Why are you so nasty?
Because you make it so easy.
No, you make it so easy because you won't reason to anything. You
won't reason to anything. You won't actually open your eyeballs and read
I
it.
was there and read the book.
You're looking at that picture.
I read the book. It was right there.
You did not read the book.
Yes, I did.
You looked at the pictures and you handed it back to me.
I don't have to read the whole friggin' book.
You didn't read the whole friggin' book. You do have to read it if you're going to actually sit there. If you're going to dissect law, you need to read it.
I don't have to read. I read the law, Jenny. I don't have to read
yes, that's right. My book has a false translation. And the word Jews wasn't really in there. It's a figment of my imagination and millions of other people's. Millions of other people
You think that the Judiciary Committee of the United States government, the Judiciary Committee of the United States Congress in the Senate and the House is going to take a Nazi law?
Yeah, I do.
Everybody knows.
The same place, the same place that time and again, United States history did not legislators and senators actually get on the floor of the United States Congress and demand that we make it illegal constitutionally for interracial marriage based on the one-drop rule. That occurred not once, not twice, not
was
3
outlawed
times,
in
but multiple times in the United States history on our floor.
That was outlawed in 1967.
So if you tell me that, if you ask me, do I believe that a racist law was heard in Congress? Absolutely, I do.
The great Democratic majority that came in with LBJs is going to take an anti-Semitic law.
Time again.
Crazy.
Time and time and time again.
What happened in 1960?
Has had racist things going on up there. Our society used to believe that slavery was perfectly okay to own a human being. That was in our legislature. That was in our walls.
That's in the Constitution.
Separate but equal. Where did that occur? Where did that occur? In our legislative walls.
This has nothing to do with this has nothing to do with the 1968
The legislators
Act.
that created that act used that law.
No, they didn't.
Practically verbatim. You can look it up. I'm not going to argue with you anymore because my throat's getting sore. I'm telling you, look it up, read it.
I already told you the law already existed before the Nazis. And I'm sure it existed in the Federal Republic of Germany. And I'm sure that they didn't need a German law.
Millions of people that have written about this topic to death.
Millions.
Are absolutely bull.
Millions of people.
Yeah.
And you can go back to contemporary.
This is a huge friggin' issue among gun owners.
You can go into the congressional record
and it is something that does get talked about quite frequently.
Why would they need that? It doesn't make any sense.
It was a simple, easy model legislation to use. That's what they used.
Right. And with some
when have you ever known our government not to take the quickest, easiest, simplest way out?
So you did just say it was a model legislation.
They used it as model legislation. They took out the Jew part.
They did not use a German law.
Yeah, they did.
Just because some book that you
put them side by side, read it, and if they're not, and if you can't see it.
I did. I looked at the thing.
No, you didn't.
The law already existed before. How come you cannot understand that?
What did you say?
The
law was altered. Did you or did you not state that the law that was on the land, that was off the books, was changed by the Nazis and introduced the word Jews?
Why don't you just be quiet for a second?
Shut up.
The fact is, like I was trying to tell you, I've got plenty of books about it, that Hitler despised the German judiciary. What
does that have to do with gun law?
It's plenty
about this
to do with
specific
because
law
they didn't
that was enacted
like
in Germany and copied in the United States. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about Hitler's feelings about the judiciary. We're talking about whether or not this law was duplicated in the United States law, and it was.
A Nazi law was not duplicated.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
You can believe whatever you want, but,
Look it up. I don't have to believe whatever I want. I can believe what's black and white. I believe what I could see,
and I know exactly
and
what
read
I thought,
in black and white.
Because I know that
the
Germans kept the law under the Imperial Germans and under the Weimar Republic, and they just adapted it. That was one of the great things, and it came out in the Nuremberg trials of the judges. They just, instead of the Koenig principle, they go with the Führer principle. But Hitler couldn't stand lawyers because he wanted stuff done, and then they would always be lawyers and stuff, and they couldn't adapt themselves enough for them. The law that you're talking about had already existed in Germany, and it probably existed afterwards, too. The Nuremberg laws are shameful.
Yes, because the Nazis didn't do all kinds of laws in order to disarm the populace. So nobody could have possibly used anything that they did to duplicate in their own areas because they didn't exist, right?
The 1968 Act hardly disarmed the populace of the United States. Come on. It banned, mail order weapons, like the ones used by,
The 1968 Gun Control Act did a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah. We didn't have any weapons of 68. They suddenly came, They banned importation of certain weapons, like, the PP was it PPK, so they had to create the PPS because it had to have a certain length in that for concealment, mail order weapons, and certain guns. But it wasn't that comprehensive. But it was more than existed before.
Well, I suppose we should start to wrap up.
I'll bring in the entire library about the German judiciary.
In 1933, Adolf Hitler seized power. And it was during that time that constitutional rights were suspended. Mass searches took place
if you have
to seize guns,
rights, you don't even have laws,
to silence dissidences, And I can't even find the exact
but
year.
But that was everybody.
And in 1938, Hitler signed a new gun control act. And this is the very paper that I'm talking about.
This was all, they did that to everybody.
Which was then, it specifically had to do with Jews.
Well, that was the year of the...
In 1938, Hitler signed the gun control...
Kristallnacht.
The 1938 Gun Control Act.
And what are you reading, Wikipedia?
No.
Well, go to Wikipedia.
Actually, Wikipedia is not a good resource. When I was in college, that was the one place you could not cite.
I think the two of you would agree on
this. Everybody can change it.
No, you go to that, but the thing about Wikipedia is you actually go to the sources they cite. I'm not going to go to a biased site. It just gives you a thing.
No, I'm reading a National Review history article about the history.
National Review, which is right-wing.
That's true. They are a conservative publication.
Well, they used to be considered a reactionary, but now they've moved to the middle.
Which is pretty much the same things that were in that book that we were talking about.
I'm not going to cite the National Review. That's a biased source. I hope they haven't told my card.
So it's not true that Hitler passed the Gun Control Act in 1938.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly that's what I'm saying, right?
That's what I said to you from the article.
I'm saying that the 1968 Act isn't based on any Nazi
Yes, it is.
Act,
The 1968
and any law that would be German had been a continental model law. And guess what, Jenny? They don't have guns in England because London used to be super violent in the 19th century.
Yeah,
and they didn't. I don't know of any Holocausts that happened. The English didn't kill each other; they just stuck you in a factory and worked you till you died at 58, a toothless old fart or something. Jeez,
we actually have a call. Let's grab this because people are still watching on Facebook.
The English still don't have teeth.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Hi, welcome to the Matt Connarton Unleashed bonus show. Who's this?
I love it.
Bonus is my car.
I posted all the sources that Jenny was citing.
Yes.
But I also posted all the sources that said that what they were doing in that report, which I posted the report and the cover of it, and the information from Fordham University about it. That she's not necessarily correct on what she's saying because they misrepresented a lot of things in that report.
You're talking Aaron Zellman's book?
Yeah.
So you said...
I'm not making a judgment. I'm just saying what like you said, Wikipedia, all these places that snoop, that kind of fact checked it, said they weren't, they were pretty much not right.
Snoops and Wikipedia.
I just thought I'm not making an opinion. I'm just telling you it's in the feed there.
Thank you. I thank you for that.
All right.
I will say for the record, though, that Wikipedia can be changed by anybody, so I don't trust it. And Snoops is run by, we all know. Snopes, whatever, Snoops.
Snoops is a site where you can spy on people. I'm kidding. That's not true.
Well, there are a couple of...
That'd be fun. Oh, my goodness. Wow. So, John Hopwood had to leave suddenly, and he said something about, I hope they haven't towed my car.
Uh-oh.
So I guess I
guess we can give him a ride home if they did, right?
Well, of course, yes. Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, free dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. And we have another pre-recorded edition for you. In case you've been under a rock, we have a stay-at-home order until May 4 here in New Hampshire. And so all live programming at WMNH is suspended. And what you are hearing is another pre-recorded show. And the way we're handling that with Matt Connarton Unleashed is every day you will hear either a show that I've pre-recorded the entire 2 hours the night before or that morning and sent into the station for airing between 4 and 6 p.m., or you might hear one of these amazing best of Matt Connarton Unleashed editions that I do so love to put together. Well, today you're getting another best of. More about that in a moment. Also want to let everybody know, I want to make sure that everyone is aware that our wonderful sponsor, the Hop Knot, in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street is still open for business. Now, just like any other restaurant or bar in the state of New Hampshire, they currently can only do carry-out and delivery, no dining in. That's the rules, my friends, but they are doing it. Not only carry out, but they are now delivering as well. They're open Monday through Saturday from noon to 7 p.m. You can get not only some of their great food, and they have an incredible menu, but you can get beer and wine as well. Must be purchased with food, but that is an option. And in fact, if you go to the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, and please give that a like if you haven't done so already. If you go to the Facebook page, you can see right there the entire menu available for carryout or delivery. So please continue to support our wonderful sponsor, the Hop Knot, in this very difficult time. And without further ado, here it is, the best of Matt Connarton Unleashed, Volume 30. Can you believe it? 3-0. And this is another special themed best of, the best arguments in the history of Matt Connarton Unleashed, Part 2. I warned you there was going to be a Part 2. Enjoy.
Here's the Deseret News is talking about the B, saying it's an evangelical Christian satirical site. And, of course, evangelical Christians, the Deseret B is Utah, Mormon.
Right.
And they were making fun of Mitt Romney and Mormons. And they're talking about that because now they're PO'd.
Right.
But they're trying to see it for what it is.
Right.
But a lot of evangelical Christians don't consider Mormons Christians.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, that's true, yes. How about you, the Honorable
What?
The Honorable Gary S. Hopper?
I came in here to take a nap. Why are you bothering me?
I came to take go to the bathroom.
Do you want to pick up that grenade? Are Mormons Christians? Oh, I didn't mean literally that. Oh, my God, you brought a grenade in. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm going fishing after my show.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
With Glenn R.J. Ouellette?
Oh.
Maybe.
He needs protection now. His campaign, he's got agendaed a lot of hate.
I have no comments on Glenn. I'm not supposed to talk about him.
Okay.
Anyway, I like Glenn. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I like Glenn, too, very much.
Anyway.
I'm just not supposed to talk about him anymore.
Oh, okay. So anyway, what was the question?
It is verboten. I'm sorry.
Verboten.
Is that how you say
The
it?
V is pronounced like an F.
I can't pronounce my V's like F's.
Verboten.
I can't even trill my R's. You expect me to pronounce my V like an F?
And F is pronounced like a V. Volk.
Now, that seems unfair.
We don't who is.
I know, who writes these languages?
I think it was the Krauts.
Yeah. Where the heck is Steve Valancourt when you need him?
Are you supposed to say that? Well, he's dead.
Maybe we can, Norm's Community Corner's on. Maybe we can contact Norm and he can get through to Steve.
Yeah, because Steve is really good at that. He's always used to say German words from the podium.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, to the speaker, O'Brien.
No, not just that. He would do that periodically.
He did agree, if I remember correctly, not to say Wiener Schnitzel ever again.
Wiener Schnitzel.
I can't say that
Come on,
like
Matt,
that way.
Get cultured like us.
I can't. Well, kosher? What's that have to do with it?
Cultured.
Culture. I thought you said kosher.
No,
Multilingual.
Very confused.
No. Okay, Mormons. I studied with the Mormons. The moniker of a Christian organization is the
People do good?
No.
Imitate Christ?
No. That is not it.
Charge money?
If a group of people believes that Jesus Christ died on the cross for their sins, was resurrected, is not only he is part of the triune God, then that is a Christian group.
Yeah, but there are a lot of Christians that don't believe in the Trinity.
Then they're not Christian. That's
come on.
So of course they are.
That's going back 500 years.
Wait,
You're rabble-rousing again.
No, I'm not. I'm just telling you what a Christian is.
According to Gary Hopper.
No, according to the Bible.
Wait, this is interesting, though, so clarify something for me. So I thought the Trinity, that was a Catholic thing.
No. That is...
The Church of England has it, too.
I didn't realize that.
No, that goes way, way back. If you look at, I think it's... I can look it up in the Bible, but I didn't know I was going to be doing the Bible
Which
tonight.
Bible? there's many Bibles. There's a Catholic Bible. There's the King James of, what is it, 1610?
Okay.
Then there's the previous one. There's the Bible that was published in Geneva, which people were actually executed for having.
Anyway, if you look at the current Bible, the New International Version or the King James Version, they all say basically the same thing, that I and the Father are one.
Okay.
Okay. It says it in there multiple times that, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And it's if you read Scripture and understand Scripture, Jesus Christ is God.
See, I reject that.
He was when Moses went up to the mountain and asked, and God, no, it wasn't. It was the burning bush. When Moses was talking to God, and God said to Moses,
you mean Yahweh, a Hebrew God, spoke to him.
When God told Moses to go back to Egypt and bring his people to freedom, Moses said, "Who shall I say sent me?" And say, "I am sent you." In other words, I am. It's total, I am.
Okay.
The reason Jesus was crucified was he called himself I am. Okay.
And where is this in the Bible? Because I've never read that. That's an interpretation of the Bible.
No, it is not an interpretation of the Bible. Jeez.
Come on. People have been killing each other for thousands of years over the Bible.
No, that's not
true. Can you read Aramaic? Can you read what comes from, can you read the original text?
Sir Hopwood, that is not true.
Can you read the original text of the Bible?
You're absolutely wrong.
The Bible is cobbled together from many texts.
You're just going to keep interrupting, huh?
It's true, but that's true. That's demonstrable fact.
Okay.
God didn't come down and, here's the King James Version of the Bible. The people that translated and wrote the King James Version of the Bible aren't holy men. It was a work project. Probably Shakespeare worked on it. Yeah. And he was certainly...
I know you think that.
Yes, because there's facts. It's like Daniel Patrick Moynihan said, you can't create your own facts.
Well, okay. So
this is stuff that, under Pius XII, you read the glosses on the Bible from the Catholic Church. No one would never assert what he just said.
Okay.
Well,
and there are Christians that reject the Trinity.
Well, so I have a serious question though. So we're
talking about the Sacramento Bee or the no, that's a real
newspaper. We're beyond that now. No, but where does the third? So you talked about God and you talked about Jesus,
Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Well, no, I know that, but I'm just asking where does the Holy Spirit enter into? Because you explained how we get the two, I just don't know how we get the three. You know what I mean?
Christ said that after he was gone, he was going to send the Comforter. In other words, he's there in the flesh, but after he's gone, he's sending the Comforter, and that is the Holy Spirit.
And where is that in the Bible? Tell me.
I'm trying to look up the last one.
Okay, so the Comforter is the Holy Spirit.
You sound like Muslims say that the Quran was just given straight to Muhammad. They don't want to talk about that. Allah was basically one of his tribal gods, and that the synthesis of the Christian and the Hebrew Bible into that religion, they claim that that's just handed down to them. Yet if you look at the text, the actual stuff from the time of Muhammad, it shows that there were changes made and stuff. So I guess God got it wrong. Now the Mormons, Joseph Smith in New York, they strapped on the Uman and the Thuman, whatever they are, and whoever gave him, the angel Moroni, gave him this whole friggin' text that some people say is a gleaning of a historical novel published in Albany, 20 years before. And it was destroyed. So he went behind the blanket, and they gave him another version. I mean, these are the standard things about these holy texts.
Yeah, I don't believe a word you're saying, but you can keep talking.
No, because you're a true believer. I can accept Christ.
Look, I believe that
without believing all this stuff.
Right. I believe that if God can create a child,
you mean Yahweh? Who is your God? Because the Hebrew God is he who can't be named. They call him Yahweh, or the four letters, because you're not supposed to know his name. Right?
Isn't that in Judaism? Isn't that a thing?
Christianity is basically Judaism until the Armenians get a hold of it and start creating what we know as Christianity about 300 years, or 250 years afterwards.
We're
going to get Fred Bonig.
We have a call. Well, it's possible. He has a bit of a background in this, you know. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Is this the 700 Club?
Yes, and we want your money.
Donate.
We want your money.
I'd like to have their money.
I was going to donate. That's what I said. I want to donate. Can I get some holy water and whatever that nice pin is, and 2 of your books?
Ooh,
we don't do holy water. Well, he's a congregationist. I am too.
I was going to say it's kind of funny. Aren't you both congregationists and you're arguing with each other? It's kind of fun.
That's fun.
Yeah. What's up, Fred?
It's in the Book of Acts. He's looking for it. It's the Book of Acts. Where he's talking to the disciples after he's dead, and he comes back, and that's when he tells them when he leaves because he's going to ascend into heaven. And
when was the Book of Acts written?
That the Holy Spirit was going to come.
200
the other
years
part,
after?
the I am. I think I posted it. There's 7 times he calls himself I am. I posted it. It's in your link there. But I don't need to argue about it because it's all hooey to me. All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks for the call, Fred.
Did you believe it once?
Well, I think he did at one time, yeah. Fred used to, because I think he started in Christian radio, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But he seemed to be in a bit of a hurry, so.
What was the text he used? Because I'm not.
Acts.
No, I know that was a different one. He said that was after he was dead. I'm talking about before when he was being.
Yeah, so there's an article here that Fred shared. 7 times Jesus said, I am.
In what language?
So you're
going to keep going on with this? Why can't we just have a conversation about this?
You're talking
no, you're
foolishness.
Not. The Bible is like the most authenticated. It is the most authenticated piece of literature in history.
That's completely
that is
wrong.
No.
It's been rebutted from time immemorial.
No.
It's just an act of faith. And you're pretending. You're projecting
that is not true.
It is an act of faith. Oh, so the holy books of other religions is just a bunch of crap.
Believing it is an act of faith.
It's no more real than the Book of Mormon.
No, oh gosh.
And I'm a Christian. I accept that Jesus is my Savior when I was 47 years old.
Okay.
I don't need somebody explaining to me what a Christian is, and you have to believe in the Trinity. That's, I don't care.
That's what it is.
It's not.
Yes,
it is. Crazy. So, what do you think the Protestant Reformation was about? What do you think that happened in England back in the 1600s? You can go to the cemetery in Litchfield and see my forefathers. They're named Moses and stuff. They came here. They were Protestant divines, which is the word for a minister.
I know. Did you find that?
And now they're chiseling us off the library.
It would have been like Matthew, Mark, or...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
No, I did find that. So there's, in John 6:35...
I mean, you can't even properly translate a story from Chekhov. But they've taken these fragments... Which, that they just, we'll keep this part and throw this out, this big editorial job from different languages, and it's all correct. You can't get get Dostoevsky right, but you can get the Bible right. It doesn't make any sense. It's illogical.
Chekhov?
But then religion is. That's why I took up with that Russian girl, because we were going to translate Chekhov, particularly... Well, not Doma Sobotchka, which is Lady with Pet Dog, but...
I always preferred Mr. Sulu.
Dushenka.
So let's go through a few of these, because Gary was asking. So, John 6:35.
No.
Oh, Jesus.
That's not it?
No.
John...
I thought we were going to talk about reparations.
8:12.
What does it say?
John 8:12, he says, I am the light of the world.
No.
In what language did he say that? Hemingway wrote a great short story called The Light of the World.
Anyway.
Where the hooker mistakes the boxer for Jesus. It's great. It's a great short story. It was revolutionary at the time. That's why Hemingway was so controversial.
I'll have to read that. John 10:9, he says, I am the door.
No.
Okay.
The door to what?
John 10:11, I am the good shepherd.
No.
John 11:25, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this?
Jesus, they don't even know if he was crucified.
Uh-oh.
He's not crucified in Matthew, is he?
John 14:6, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
No, it was
it's all metaphor.
He was being questioned by one of the Pharisees or Sadducees.
Oh.
Ooh, they have a transcript.
We only have one more here in this list. John 15:5. I am the vine, you are the branches.
No, that's not it.
Oh, okay.
I
don't know.
I am the satire.
Oh, wow. I don't think that's in the Bible.
La Biblia.
But I don't know. I'm a very, very lapsed Catholic.
Hey, I was arguing with a Muslim a couple of weeks ago. She says it's ridiculous. Jesus wasn't Jewish. He was Muslim. He's a Muslim prophet.
That's insane.
It's insane to you. It's not to them.
Well, I know, but the proposition is insane.
Right. So 1 billion people are insane, and they're wrong, and you're right. Right.
So
poor Gary.
Well, the thing is I try to talk to him, but he just babbles for.
But it's crazy what you'd say, that only a Christian can be what you think it is, the Trinity. Actually, when I became baptized, I could accept the Trinity because I'm a pantheist. It seems the way it's explained is hokey and silly, but, I'm into pantheism.
Well, what is that? Explain
pantheism,
it.
I believe in multiple gods.
Oh.
Believe in all kinds of gods.
Oh, boy.
There's probably a god right here, but that might be the leakage from Norm's show,
Right.
We still have yet to get that impermeable wall.
I know. That's true. So how is it that you guys are both Congregationists and yet you see things so differently?
Because I'm a liberal.
He's a liberal. I'm a conservative.
Most of the Congregationalists are liberals.
Is that true?
They are where I am.
So, Gary, when you go to church, you're surrounded by liberals?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't go to a church like that.
Oh, no. You wouldn't want anybody that challenges what you think, right?
No, I don't mind people challenging if they actually give
So you know Aramaic, ancient Aramaic, and you can actually read this and translate it.
Yeah, okay.
Because you can't. And you can't, like Greek and stuff. This is all fragments. I mean, people have researched this. The Catholic Church researched it. Or is the Catholic Church the Antichrist?
No comment. Fred,
we're not going to get it from you, huh?
Fred says in the Facebook live chat, is this what you were looking for, Gary? It's John 8:58. I tell you the truth, Jesus answered, before Abraham was born, I am.
Yeah, that's it.
Can we have it in the original? Let's have it in the original. Because I spent 40 years trying to translate, people dealing with translation problems.
Yeah.
You have to translate, you have to figure out stuff in English, what it actually means to parse it. When you go back to something like when you're dealing with even William Faulkner, which he's influenced by the New Testament, but Southern Baptist preachers and their rhythms, you try to figure out what they're saying. All revealed truth. It's like the movie Monty Python, like O'Brien.
Okay.
You know God, and His name is God.
Well, let Gary get in here.
New Testament.
Because you've been talking a lot.
The Old Testament is
if you're so convinced of what you believe, why are you afraid to take a question?
I have to go
You're absolutely convinced, and yet you refuse to allow me 2 seconds to ask you a question.
Ask the question.
Do you believe God created the world?
Not in the way you think.
Do you believe God created the world? Yes or no?
Who is God? Why don't you answer who God is?
You don't even believe God?
Was it Jehovah?
I thought you said you were a Christian. You don't even believe there's God.
You don't tell me what a Christian is. That's intolerance.
Yeah, I'm wicked intolerant. Anyway.
Yeah, I won't go to a church where people are liberal.
Do you believe
God describe what God is?
See,
do I believe?
He won't even answer the simple question.
Do I believe that He who shall not be named, the Jewish God of the Old Testament, as vicious a God as ever existed, created the world? I would have to be insane to believe that. I believe in God, but not the God. I believe in a God more what George Washington believed, like the deists believe, that the universe is God. But I don't believe that some ancient tribal God